Welcome to our workout. Yes, it's a workout, and all of you definitely going to sweat during the next 45 minutes, which is full of exercises. If you're not going to sweat, at least I will probably sweat. So before we start, who likes to work out? Please raise your hand. Quite a few people, that's cool. What about the other ones? Do you think you can really attend a session talking about superpowers without practicing? So you should keep like one level up in order to keep up the pace of joining us with today's workout. And what I want to do is, we have a full trainings plan ahead of us. So I want to introduce Peter, my colleague, who perfectly qualifies for our program that we do today on the topic of Give Your Dashboard Superpowers with Tableau Actions. So let me introduce Peter. Peter is a freak. He's really a freak. I mean, he just recently joined Tableau, went to our bootcamp in Seattle, just came back, is now here in London on stage. So I think that's really, really a cool thing to do, presenting in front of an audience like that right after joining the company. And besides of being a rookie in Tableau, so to speak, he really likes and loves his daughter, Nika. But he also likes playing video games. So guess what? Having a newborn and playing computer games doesn't really work well that together, okay? He told me that if he has some spare time, he really likes to play a game called Dota. I haven't heard about that. Anyone new in the room? A video game called Dota? Awesome. So you can have an awesome chat after the session with him if you like to. As I said, I have no idea about it. With that being said, up to you, Peter.
Thank you very much. Oh, Jesus. I'm gonna have to do it like this, unfortunately. But thank you for the nice introduction, Oliver. Well, I'm here for these guys who don't like to work out. So that was his idea, actually. Oliver is, as the picture also can tell, and as you can see here, he's a sporty guy. He likes to do workouts, and he also likes to do sailing and kiting, which is no easy feat. He's a sales consultant, I think, for about 3.5 years now, and working for more strategic accounts in Germany and the DACH region and Northern Europe. And he even gets to pull off wearing Nike shoes at an Adidas meeting. So he's kind of a freak as well to pull that one off. Well, we're going to have a little quiz time now, and I need a name basically from you guys, and the first one who shouted is the winner. Woo!
Awesome.
No. I'm telling you a little story, so you have to guess. It was a little boy in beautiful Austria, and he set out to be one of the most famous. Yeah. Have you seen? Oh no. Has someone told you? There's only one famous Austrian guy? Oh, you know a little about Austria.
Are there any Austrian guys in here?
You know a little about Austria. All right, you're the winner. You get chicken afterwards. Chicken dinner. Yeah. Someone get the reference? Yeah. All right. We're gonna show you now what kind of nice memories about Arnie. What he was really about.
Okay, so apparently we don't have audio. So can you see if we have signal, audio signal? No?
Is it muted?
No, it's not muted, because it's only funny if we have audio. Give it another try. Not at all, really? That's too bad. 1 second.
I can do it in an Austrian accent, maybe.
That would be hilarious. So I think we're... Okay guys, everyone awake now? Okay, if you do one click now, we should see it hopefully. Let me see, I will turn down the volume. Jesus Christ. Okay, give it a try, hopefully. Yeah, that's...
I'm here to break the ice. I think it's when it comes to that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well done. Really well done, Peter.
So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how the work of the day is basically scheduled, and we're going to start with an overview about our three superpowers inside of Tableau dashboards. And these are, I don't tell you now, you can read it, or I'm going to have to quiz you next time again. So we're just doing a basic overview of what we're working now in the session and what are our core workouts. And then we're going to some more advanced workout stuff. So we're doing highlight action, we're doing action buttons, we're sending emails out of Tableau, which is nice, and we're also doing data feedback to Google Sheets. And then we are going for Mr. Universe stuff, right? And we're going to make last video actions, we're going to work with big data, we're going to work, we're doing like mobile layouts with collection containers, and we're also going to integrate Google Street View into Tableau dashboards, which is a really amazing use case. And so we're going from young Arnie to pumped up Arnie and pumping the iron. We're going to switch to the demo now.
Yeah, I think
Just.
we need to end it, yeah.
Is it already duplicated? No?
Wait a second.
Oh, and this one, this one. Yeah, thanks. So, it's a start. Our three superpowers are basically our highlight action, one, our dynamic URL action. We can now open just any link here for Wikipedia, and it opens the specific country. So it's a dynamic, based on our data set, a dynamic URL which is built up on the data which we're having laying behind this viz. So it's kind of crazy, I like it a lot. And just imagine using this, integrating your own applications in the enterprise. It's really working well. And another thing I'm going to show you now is the filter button, or the filter actions. So just a quick quiz. How many actions do we have right now? Awesome. How many actions are going to be there in the next release? Nope, 5. So this stuff is going to be really extended in the next upcoming release. We're going to have extensions, which we saw yesterday, and it's really amazing feature. And there's also a go to sheet button, which you maybe did pay attention to. No, but it's going to be there. So we have 3 actions here, and these are really our 3 actions we are going to work with now in the whole session, and show you some really good examples how to use them. And basically, you maybe already know the tiniest bottom of them all uses filter. But oftentimes, it's selecting all the vizzes in the dashboard and filtering it down to it. But sometimes it's not the thing we want. We don't want to filter it on everything. So as we can see here, I now just created basically a filter action in this, so it's generated. And I could customize it now to my own specific needs, but we're going to do it later. So this was the intro, and I'm going to hand it over to Oliver now, and I'm going to come back later for you guys.
Okay guys, really cool. So we really should try, if we have time at the end, to get this video up and running, because the quotes are hilarious, so I guess we should see them. So basically we will run through one exercise to the next exercise, and we do have different kind of levels of difficulty we will actually go to. And the next example and exercise I want to introduce is called filter versus action. So I think this is a pretty common scenario. I'm just asking, has every one of you ever had issues with performance on your dashboards? Please raise your hand. Nice, I love it. Because the following example I'm showing you now is pretty common to what I see quite a lot when I go on site. And now I need to speak a little bit slower, because you will see we have a quite long loading time, and you will also see why that's the case. The example here is connecting to my SQL server. It is just 5 million rows, but you will see on the right side that we use quite a lot of filtering that is going on. And apparently, if we take a deeper look on the performance recording, which I did previously, we can see that each of those filters on the right side is creating an own query to the database. So it slows down the performance. So some of you might know, if I go back in here, that we do have a wonderful capability. I take it on our sub-products, that we can select a value that says only relevant values. So what that really means is whenever you select another filter, this filter needs to be populated again to find out what is a relevant value. To make it really clear to all of you, if I select furniture by here, now Tableau is generating new queries which is only giving me the subcategories for my selection furniture. Apparently that generates query load, and query load means your performance goes down. So this is maybe not the best thing to do. However, we should use filters really wisely to keep performance up. There are a few tips that I can share quickly with you. So one of them is definitely, if you have a multi-select filter, please always use the apply button, right? Because it ensures that the query will only be executed once the user is hitting the apply button. One example, I'm interested in furniture and technology, and after I've done my selection, I click apply and the query is being executed. So that is maybe one really simple trick that you should apply. A second one, if you have dimensions with a lot of members listed here with, in our case, the customer name, I would highly recommend to not show the whole list because again, it needs to be populated, it generates a query, but instead maybe use a multiple value custom list or a wildcard match. So people can basically start typing in usernames and then only then the query is being executed. So that's just a one-on-one on how you should filter in terms of keeping up your performance, but actually there is a much better way using actions, and that's what I want to show you now. So on this second dashboard, what I do is, it should load up a little bit faster in that case. I'm using visual filters. Visual filters, as you can see at the top, the tree maps. Why am I doing that? Because first of all, it gives the user much more context. Instead of just having the drop-down filter, the user now can see how is the segment actually broken down. He immediately sees that corporate is the biggest segment. So it is more context that is driven for the user. And in order to have a really good initial load time, what I would recommend is do not overload your dashboard. Try to keep it simple. And I do have one action that I want to build with you in terms of our category and subcategory. So what I want to do is I only want to show the subcategory sheet if a user has selected a category. Okay, so that the viz then pops up, the subcategory, and then I can do filtering on that one. We have already seen where we can find our actions, so I click on dashboard, click on actions, and then I can add a new action. We saw filter, highlight, and go to URL. In my case, I want to have a filter action, and I call that one filter subcategory. It's always good to have a proper naming. That's one thing that I can recommend. And now I can select the sheets that should actually interact with each other. Instead of telling Tableau, hey, all the sheets need to interact with all the other ones, I can specify the elements that I want to actually trigger. So in my case, I'm saying, okay, if I select something on my category, it should only affect my subcategory sheet. Okay, so I'm deselecting everything else. You can see, maybe I'm zooming in, that I do have a source sheet at the top and I have my target sheet at the bottom. And then when should the action be executed? I do most of the time go for selection, so that means the user clicks on it, so that's fine. And then we do have a really important section in here as well. Clearing the selection will, oh wow, interesting. Probably not use that zoom. Awesome, cool. So again, filtering, we go from category to subcategory. And what I wanted to show you with this nice zoom feature is if we do not include any, select any values, we want to exclude all values. And you will see immediately what that means. So I'm hitting OK. I can select now technology in the categories. I can see the subcategories filtered properly. But if I deselect technology, you will see that the chart disappears. Okay? That ultimately means that I'm not generating a query at that point of time for that specific visualization. So basically you can minimize the initial load time by using a drill down visual filter. That's basically what the example should tell you. And actually if you take a look at the performance recording, you will see that there are fewer queries being generated and the runtime should be around the same, but still it will help you to improve the runtime. So what I do have here is quite a nice example of a dashboard. And on the, I will actually bring it up on Tableau server in a second. But first of all, I want to tell you, when is it really appropriate to use visual filtering? So as I said, I really think that giving a user a visual context and drill down capability on how to consume and dive into his data is much more relevant than having like boring drop-down filters on the right side. I'm not telling that we should completely avoid them, but we should use basically a mix of both. Just because I see some people taking pictures, you will get the full workbook after our session, including the presentation. So you can play around with it by your own pace, and you can explore and see how we've done those exercises. So yeah, maybe I dive into the browser really quickly and show you the dashboard here, because what I do like is on the right side, not zooming again, on the right side, those are the visual filters, right? On region, company code, SBU, and also on the map down there. And it looks kind of nice, I need to say. Plus, it is really ideally optimized in order to consume and filter down the dashboard. And another nice tip on the top right side is here something that people and consumers are oftenly missing about what filters are applied to the workbook. This is a really nice hack that you can basically see, okay, if I select EU as a region, for example, now, it will tell me at the bottom header, at the top header, that EU has been selected. So it's quite cool and gives the user a clear understanding of what selection has been filtered to. So that was the next exercise, so to speak, about filter actions. Is that useful? Do you use that already in your workbooks? Yeah? Okay, cool. Good to know. The next thing I'm going to talk about, next exercise is about dynamic URL actions. So we see that, of course, the Tableau usage is increasing heavily across our customer base. And we also see new use cases popping up. And one really common use case is about embedded analytics. That means you take a Tableau dashboard and you embed it in another application that can be either internally or externally. So basically, the idea really behind that is to leverage our URL action to trigger and filter other applications. And one of the most common use cases I like is people tend to say our Tableau portal itself might seem a little bit overwhelming because of all the options, navigations, and filterings you can do on the portal itself. So I want to have an easier and custom-made landing page. So the next example is really the landing page. How can I do something like that? I've prepared one example, which you can see here. That could be a landing page that you embed into your internal or external portal, where people and consumers can actually see numbers of workbook that are mostly rated, that are mostly relevant for them, so they don't need to log into the server interface themselves. Of course, it is pulling data from our Postgres repository to basically show what are the top reports, for example. And those little bars here actually indicate how many users did access the Tableau server over the day. Basically, it's my local server, so there's not much going on, as you can see here. What I want to highlight in terms of the URL action, however, is we do have a search implemented here. So I'm searching for a workbook level now, and let me go for sales. And if I click Go, I have a URL action defined. So you will see as soon as I hit it, a new browser window will open up, and I now get a search result on my Tableau server for the workbooks that incorporate sales in the name. So how did I do that? I'm going back to the dashboard, go to the dashboard action, and then there is one action defined Go link. And if I go in there, and apparently I need to scroll in again, zoom in again, we can see that we can actually parameterize those URL actions. And what you can see is what we do here is we basically pull the parameter that says, are we looking for a workbook or a project? That's basically the part in here. And then we have a snippet question mark search that is basically just passing whatever the user has entered into the text field. So this should give you an idea what you can do with the URL action in order to parameterize it and also jump to external applications. In that case, it is just being used for the Tableau landing page. That's one example. The second example that is really closely tied to my landing page is a little bit about FAQ page for the Tableau server. It's closely related to my landing page. You can see that in that case I was just using images that will then link to a specific knowledge base or a specific wiki link that I have internally in order to guide my users. What I want to show you down here, however, is something that I like about creating a linked list, what I like to say. So you can see we do have different categories where people can jump up to. What are projects? What are the tabs at the top of my report in order to provide information like that? I will go into a worksheet and let's take a look at the actual data that we are connecting to. You will see it's a new data source, and the data source is really easily structured. It is basically only an Excel file that is giving you the question, a category, and the URL address. And by using that approach, you can leverage the data source and then apply a URL action on that in order to make it easy for a user to link to a specific FAQ page internally. That was the example about the landing pages. And I do have another one, which is quite common in terms of URL actions, that is about images. Oftentimes I get asked, hey, is it possible to really have a dynamic image within my dashboard that is, for example, showing me my product that I'm selling? So instead of just saying product ID, A, B, C, D, E, I want to see an actual image. How do I do that? So, well, in order to do that currently in Tableau, what you need to do is you need to have the product pictures somewhere on a web server or available in the internet. This example here is giving you skyscrapers in New York. And again, if I select a specific skyscraper, you will see that it dynamically loads the picture down in my web container. So how do I do that? I just need to drag in basically a blank web page container in here. I leave the URL completely empty. So I have an empty web page container. And then I'm defining the URL action. So I go to Dashboard, I go to Actions, and then I have my URL action in here that is basically just calling, in my case, a dimension that has the HTTP URL already ready. It's pre-built in my data set. If not, I can use the same approach and go into Tableau and tell, okay, maybe I want to parameterize it and I want to pass my product ID, for example. So that would be then the dynamic value that I can reference in my ID. Cool. So that was it about this exercise, telling you a little bit about URL actions. If I recap, we have seen custom landing pages. Is that relevant for you guys? Raise your hand. Interesting to see because yeah, this, as I said, is a request we get more and more. And then you have the decision, well, do I either create or build a completely custom program portal page, or can I maybe not just stick with a Tableau dashboard that I create in the way how my people should consume the data? The URL action can also be really handy if you want to link to third-party applications. We do it with Salesforce.com. That's what we use as a CRM tool. So we have Tableau sales dashboards, and when we do have different opportunities, we just click on the opportunity, and it will open up this opportunity in Salesforce for us. So a tight integration to third-party applications is really what you can do here. And the last use case basically is about if you have multiple Tableau dashboards and you want to jump between those dashboards, you can do that with the URL action, and you can even filter the new workbook that you're calling, that you're referencing. I think that's enough about an introduction on URL actions. I think we should keep up the pace now a little bit because we go basically into the medium section right away. I do have one last exercise for you guys before I'm kind of exhausted to give over to hand over to Peter. So the next exercise is about highlight actions. When I first saw this example, I was like, hey, that was probably been done in a Tableau version that I'm not aware of because I haven't seen this capability implemented, and for sure I didn't know how to do it. But when I saw this, I recognized, hey, this is a workbook on Tableau Public, so it needs to be done with our default Tableau, right? So I took the challenge. I was not able to download the workbook from Public, so I needed to come up and try to rebuild it myself. And actually, in the end, it was really easy to rebuild what I'm just showing you, but I guess it is extremely valuable for trend analysis. So what is the use case? We have a trend chart like that showing our monthly average sales across our month, broken down by our ship mode. So what I want to do now is, if I select a specific data point like October 2014, I want to see first of all the sales as a label. That is pretty easy. But then, wouldn't it be nice if I could compare it easily with the October values of those other two lines? Immediately, visual, direct, so it's much faster to get the insight. So how do I do that? So first of all, what I can do is I can click on label. I can say I want to show the label, but only for the highlighted one. That is pretty easy, pretty cool to do. Nice. And then it comes to the action. We go to Worksheet, click Action, and then we go Add Action to a Highlighter action. And actually, this is the most important thing here. So we have a target highlighting action for date and times. How does it look like if I select it? Well, I'm just doing it. Click OK. And now you see once I select a data point, it immediately also highlights all the other lines in my trend chart. And that is, I guess, really cool for comparison. There are a few visual things how I can improve and make it a little bit look nicer even. So for example, if I click on label, and it took me a while to figure that one out, if I go to font, there is one option that is called match mark color. Yeah. So if I click on this, you will actually see that the label is nicely formatted in the color of the line. So it looks cleaner, it looks cooler, I guess. And again, it is all about comparing those values. So the last thing really missing in that example is go to analytics. I'm dragging in a reference line on the month level. And now you can see that I have a nice dotted reference line for whatever data point I'm basically connecting. So what you see is with a few clicks and just one highlight action in a trend chart, it will help you to distinguish and spot those insights on one specific data selection quite easily. And kudos goes, as I said, to Tableau Public, because Curtis Harris was the one he was building the viz, I saw it in Tableau Public, and I was like, okay, this is really cool, I want to know how to do it. When do I think is that valuable for you? Basically, as I said, comparing different lines in a trend chart, that's where you can basically apply it. It has much better readability if you need to compare different values across. So that's the proper use case for that one. So with that being said, I need a rest now. Peter, it is up to you.
He's coming back, don't worry. He will be back for you, so no worries. For the next part, we are talking about action buttons specifically, and I really like the example Oliver showed earlier, where we were navigating across different workbooks and across different projects, but using URL actions. What we want to do now is navigating in the workbook and not leaving the Tableau context. So for this example, this is also targeted for audiences who are probably not that used to using Tableau. They don't know which dashboards exist and where do I have to click. So maybe for more senior management stuff who are not that often in the application. So we can just guide them through our created workbooks. And in this specific example, I'm just clicking on the button. I'm already switching to another dashboard. And I can see the finance, what is going on, and I also can easily jump back just by using the home button. And I think that's a pretty neat example, and I'm going to show you now how it's done. So we're going to jump to the product analysis page, and we see, okay, there's no way back now. I want to go back, I want to look at the finance again. But we can just create it by creating a new sheet. We're going to hide the title because we don't need it. And we basically need a button now, right? So we're going to start by creating a calculated field. We call it a back button, and we give it a string. So take me home now. All right, that's it. And then we're just creating shapes. And what I really like about shapes is that you can import your own. So we're going to drag this on shape. And if you have a specific CI, if you have specific icons in your company, which most companies do, you can just use your own custom shapes in here. So we have a lot of them from Oliver already, but I'm going to go with houses now because it really speaks for itself. I'm going to apply it to my shape, and we already have a little tiny house. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and we're coming back to that. So I'm going to rename this and call it home. No, not home, but yeah, sure, home button. So, and now I want to switch back to my dashboard. I'm just going to drag it in as a floating container, like this. And I'm going to make it the entire view. I'm going to remove my title. I'm going to remove my highlighting action. And now what's really neat is I need formatting, right? So, because now it has a white background and I don't like that. So I'm just going to use the pick screen color. Did it work? Yeah. Boom. There it is. So I don't even need to figure out which color was I'm using. And I really like this specific example. I can make it more smaller, but we're not focusing on formatting too much now because I want to show you the action. And the action is done by just clicking on here, and we want to do a filter action, but filtering on our workbooks. And what I really like is, if you don't know this, Control A makes an easier day for a lot of stuff. I'm going to remove everything. I want the home button, and I'm going to move now to my old dashboard or to my home dashboard, and I want to select it. That's all I have to do. I'm done, 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 boom, done. All right, that's it. I hope you got it. To wrap this up again, we like this example when we have guided analytics flow. So, like I mentioned earlier, we want to engage an audience which is not used to using Tableau. They don't want to navigate across different pages. They don't want to go on server. We just push them there, and then they can do it really easily. And I also can use it to structure content, like Oliver showed earlier, where he has navigation panes, and you always want to come back to the old one. Yeah, and also custom shapes. Don't forget about that. I really like it. We're gonna now send an email. What I really like about sending emails and also about successful analytics is if you can drive actions out of it, right? You don't want to look at data and then just go home. You want to look at data and create an action. You want to go out there and, okay, I got an insight, now I can work on my actual business case. So in this specific scenario, we basically have an operations monitoring dashboard, and we're showing different plans and which events occurred there. So, for example, let's say I'm a guy who's traveling a lot, and I'm monitoring this dashboard, and I need to holler at my people and say, hey, dude, check this out. I've seen some critical logs in your monitoring, and you need to take care of this, or else the plant has to shut down, and that's not very good, right? So for this scenario, we want to create an email. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a URL action. We're just calling it send an email, please. And we want to, again, Control A. We want to create it just by doing it on the event log. And then we're going to just type into mail2. And now we can again use the data set which is underlying and create dynamic emails. So the people who are responsible for the specific power plant will get notified about these issues. So now I want to also add some content to it. So we're going to add some subject, help me, please, and also, oh yeah, sure, thank you. And also I want to have some body to it, and now we can also again use the data which I have in my data set. So I'm going to use the location where it happened and also the event time, so I don't have to find it out and write it in, so it's already there. I'm going to separate it by a comma just to be nice, and I'm going to test it. So I'm going to, Control A, Control 1? Oh, sweet. So I think Outlook has to start now at some point. You need a newer computer, Oliver. So there you go, there's my email. And now I'm just basically creating a real workflow where I just look at my data, I click a button, I'm in my email, I can write it, and it's off. Done. I don't want to save it, no thank you very much. And now, what's really neat, I didn't specify where I did it, right? But Tableau already realizes there's an, I didn't switch to, now it's starting to Outlook again, Jesus. Okay, it's on menu, and again I forgot about something. We want to switch this not to menu, but to select. I'm gonna click again so you can see it, but doing the same thing over again. Come on. So just to wrap this up, is I really am creating actions, not in the sense of dashboard actions, but I'm really creating business actions inside of Tableau, and just you use it for in this specific scenario for emails, but also like Oliver mentioned earlier and showed you earlier, you can also use it for URLs, of course. And I really like it because you drive business action out of that. So another really great example is about using Google Sheets. And so, for example, let's say you're working in the sales department and you're supporting the sales guys out there to create more revenue, and you're basically providing them with marketing campaigns, right? And you want to know which helps the most to get the most sales done. And we now built here something where I can just use my slider filters or parameters and give them percentages based on how much I need the trade show campaign, the email campaign, the marketing event, or the webinar. And then I want to use this data and push it to a data source where I can then do analytics on. So by that, I'm want to just submit it. And we also have, again, a dashboard action behind it. And we want to go to, here it is already, because it's a long link. So as you can see here, it's basically pointing us to a Google Docs form. And we are using the dimensions which we have in our workbook, like the attributes which the people entered in the parameter, and submitting them over a parameter to Google Sheets, and it's basically writing there on its own. And I really love Google, by the way. I'm going to show you now why. So if I click it, this data is submitted to Google Sheets. And to go into edit mode, yep, I don't want it. So because as you've seen, there are IDs on it, and the Google URL was really complicated. But Google made it really easy for us to get this link and to get the IDs. So you used to have to look at the source code, but we don't want that. So I just click to get link, and now it's in my, and if I show it to you here, oh no, copy link, so that's the way. If I show it to you here, we already have the link in there. Oh, they changed it. Weird. No, I know why. I have to add some answers. So, test, and I get the link again, copy it again, paste it in there, and now I already see the entry IDs there, and I just switch those comments I just made out to my dimensions which I had in my Tableau workbook, and then I can just submit it like here. And I'm really, again, creating business action, like earlier from the email, just outside of Tableau, inside of Tableau. And that's really great, I feel like. And again, you can use those parameters in any given context of your enterprise applications or your business applications. And I think I really like that a lot. So it improves usability, just not doing analytics and also going further than that. You can, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that. So you're really increasing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Again, business action, and you don't need to switch a tool to get the data entered in. And if you think about it, it's kind of funny because you actually could point to the Google Sheet where the data is stored if you put it in, and at the same time doing analytics on the data I just put in. So it's a little bit of perpetuum mobile. So that was the last example about our intermediary section, and we now want to really do it. We really want to go big and do action hero stuff, so Mr. Universe stuff. And for that I'm going to show you now last value action. And that's something it's really important. At the same time, I don't have many customer meetings right now, but I've seen it on my first day already at a customer meeting, and they have basically a dashboard pretty similar to this. And I just look at it, I have all my products in there. And this is something, again, that's increasing performance. it's increasing my load on the query and the server. And again, I don't need this. I don't need all of it. I just need the thing I'm looking at. Of course, I can click it, and then I see my specific data point. But if I unclick it, I see everything. I don't need that. So it's bad for performance, and it's also not bad for visual best practices. So what I want to do is I just want to basically cut it down to just the most recent date, so the last value in the specific scenario. So I want to go to Sheet, and I'm going to create an index. Again, just by creating a calculated field. You could do a rank function as well, but in this specific scenario you want to do an index, and it's pretty easy. And for that to work, I need to convert it to a discrete value. And I'm going to drag it up here, and then I need to specify on which data field the index is going to be built up on. So I'm just using the order date because I want the last value of my order, and I already see that it's already broken down. So what I need now, I created an order about these specific dates, and now I want to only see the most recent date. So everything is excluded, and I'm using just my first item, and I can see it already here. So if I now go back to my last value action, I already see it's pre-filtered to the most recent date. So it's my performance just increased, and also like the crispiness of the chart is just there. And again, if I click on it, it's pulling up the old dates, or the specific dates and data points. If I unclick it, I'm at the most recent date. And I really, really liked it to just increase the crispiness and the relevancy of the dashboard and the data you're showing. And I think that's a really important lesson to take away with. That was my last part. I'm now gonna leave the big data stuff to Big Data Oliver.
Thank you, Peter. Awesome. So I really do like that exercise here about big data, because I really often get asked, hey, Oliver, can Tableau handle, can you hear me? Yeah. Can Tableau handle big data at all? And I'm like, yeah, well, so we really need to talk about what is big data about. And I don't want to bore you about that session, but what I want to do is really emphasize on a terminology. Let's say we are talking about millions and billions of data rows. So what I can say for myself is that I had my last workout probably 1 million seconds ago. Any guesses how long that is in days? 1 million seconds. Just shout it out. How many days? 30? Any other guesses? So it's actually 12.5 days. So 12.5 days I had my last workout. So how does it change if I say I had my last workout 1 billion seconds ago? Any guesses? It is 32 years. So what I want to emphasize is if we talk about millions of rows or billions of rows, we use those terms intermediately, but we need to think about the scale, what is really behind. And if I talk about big data, I like to compare it of reading a newspaper. So if you have a newspaper, what do you do first? You scan for the relevant headlines that you're interested in. So for the relevant articles, you focus on those, and what you do is you read paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, word by word. And this is a pretty nice analogy how big data analysis in Tableau also works. And what I want to show you is an example about baseball data. And the baseball data here comes from different data sources. So we have different chunks of areas that we're going to analyze. And we are not analyzing it all at once, but we are narrowing down to what actually is relevant for us. So we do have data coming from a Tableau extract. We have a SQL server, and we have a Cloudera Hadoop system that is actually up and running in Seattle. So I hope my internet connection will work. What you see here is just two visualizations. It is titled as extract here. So I can select 2 data points, for example, and my SQL server is then executed and gives me the results for this specific selection. So we are using the filter action of jumping between different data sources. How do we do that? I'm dragging in my player details and my other sheet from the Cloudera Hadoop system. I'm going to cancel that because it will quite take some time. Yep, that's fine. And I will take my second sheet. should work now. Okay. And now I'm defining the action. So when defining the filter action, I want to say that when I click on my SQL Server worksheet, it should have impact on my Cloudera system. So I'm deselecting all the other ones. It should be a select action. And now comes a new area we haven't introduced and talked about, the target fields. Okay. So I'm going to go for selected fields only. I say add a filter. And now comes the relevant part. I'm jumping from my data source SQL Server. I want to pass not the team information, but the baseball player information to what? My target data source, which is my Cloudera Hadoop system. And again, the field I want to pass is for the moment just my player information. I hit OK twice, and you will see once now I select specific players, ideally it triggers a query that is being sent to the Cloudera system in Seattle and is delivering back the results. And you see that the query time is quite okay because we are filtering it down so specifically on the relevant values we need. And this example is huge because it can basically solve a lot of your performance issues by not thinking about, oh, I have this one big gigantic data source that I'm querying all the time. Instead, think about creating different chunks of aggregated layers and then jump between those different aggregation levels by just using a Tableau action as you saw. You just need to be careful on what is your target data source, what is your source data source. Exactly. So yeah, as I said, it is really good of implementing and following guided analytics principles. And especially if you need to work with multiple data sources. You will see that the response time is faster because if I would have run the query on all the data on the Hadoop system, it would be still waiting. Okay, so it shows you how you can basically make a really nice user experience for your end users. Is anyone using that approach already? Hands up. A few of you? Cool. Yeah, nice. So apparently you can not only select just one field you want to pass, but you can basically pass multiple values, whatever is relevant. Next exercise is about collapsing containers. I think it is a really good example of how good the Tableau community really works because it is an example from the community, especially it is from Robert Rouse from Interworks, who has built up this idea of a collapsing container. So what does it mean? Think about, and actually go into the demo here right away. You have a dashboard which has two areas that you can see here. You have filters. You have maybe a KPI metric, you have legends, you have descriptions, but maybe you don't want to display this information all the time because it apparently needs space. And if you think about mobile reporting, especially on an iPhone, on an iPad, you want to minimize and use the maximum space you have available. And this example is, I mean, not the easiest one to implement, let me say it like that, but it's extremely helpful if you have dedicated, let's say, management use cases where you want to make the maximum use of your space. And how does it work? Ideally, we now define an action that when I click on the X button, it will basically remove the left area and will expand my dashboard area. And if I click on the menu button again, it will collapse up again so that I can see my left section. So the only thing I need to do, because I've pre-built it apparently, is I'm defining an action. The action is basically triggered to my close icon and my menu icon and nothing more. And what you see is the action is applied to my blank sheet. But what does blank sheet really mean? You will see in a second. Just click OK. And now you see once I've hit the X button, it basically collapses. It shows you the dashboard. And once I click the menu button, you will get the detailed information about filtering. So how does it work? If we take a closer look into the dashboard layouting, we will see that we are actually using at the top level a floating container with a specific size. The second really crucial element in order to get this working is this blank sheet that we just applied the action on. So the blank sheet is basically a dynamic sheet that, depending on if you click the button or not, is changing its size. So basically the blank sheet is defining whether this particular legend is being moved out of your window screen, so to speak, or not. It is quite fancy. I love it. I really love it. I used it a few times with my customers to implement for those specific use cases. And this is how it originally looked like. So that's the Interworks blog article. If you just Google it for collapsing container Interworks, you will find it straight away. And he has a complete blog article about how you implement that. and give it a try. I would love to see more of that, because I think it shows, it combines really the values of having a clean dashboard, but also giving your users more context, more information, and also getting rid of all the filters that destroy the view, however. Yeah? Any questions or any comments? Is that helpful? Do you think you can implement that for some of your dashboards? Definitely not for all of them, because you will need some time for that. But yeah, for some, I think it's pretty a cool idea. Our last example is not really that complex to implement. I would say it's more of an eye-opener. What else you can do leveraging our Tableau actions. You might have seen in the keynote that we are about to introduce our new extension API, but what I will show you now can actually be done with any of your products. So I don't think we have people here using older versions than Tableau 8, and even there it is still possible to do what I show you now. The specific example here that I use is about integrating Google Street View into my Tableau dashboard. Anyone done that before? Yeah? Cool, nice. So again, this is an inspiration of the Tableau community. We found it online and we thought it might be valuable. Do not think about the limitation of, oh yeah, that's Google Street View, I don't care about Google Street View. It is more about adding a third-party application back into your dashboard. And how that works, that's what I actually show you next. So, not the code apparently. I show you the dashboard first. So we have a dashboard on Brooklyn's graffiti. And that's actually the example on the blog article as well. And what I want to do is, especially with this graffitis, I want to have a Google Street View image of this specific location to see, hey, is the graffiti still there? Has it been removed? And to just give it a nicer context for my consumers to see actually a Street View about that example. So what I need in order to integrate the Google Street View in there is some coding. That's why we put it in the advanced section, because I'm not aware if most of you can code or not. This is pre-built script you can find in the internet. And as I said, there are nearly endless opportunities of you adding further integration of third-party applications by having a script file that you just call in Tableau. So what it does is basically the script is passing our longitude and latitude values we have in our data set for the graffiti, is passing it to the Google API, and the Google API is showing that in a Street View container. So from a dashboard consumer point of view, or dashboard creator point of view, the only thing I really need to do is I need to create a URL action again, and I copy pasted the link already. So I'm going to do that. Dashboard action, URL action. I do the naming, see Street View, and it should apply if I select it. As you can see here, it is basically calling my HTML page that you just saw the code. It is executing the code, so to speak, but it is passing the longitude and the latitude of my data set. So whatever is in the brackets here, you can see is being passed from a dimension. That should be it. I click OK, go out of the Zoom, of course. And what else I need in order to really show the Google Street View in the same dashboard, we had this earlier as well, I click on Web Page. So I'm adding an empty web page container, and now you will see, maybe make it a little bit smaller, it's fine. And now if I select a specific address, you will see that Google is coming up and basically pulling the Google Street View image. So, and then we can basically scroll around and see, okay, is there any graffiti or not? We can also filter it down to, I think that one was a good category. No, there actually are none in there. Here. So it's really cool to see. Apparently that use case, I mean, Google Street View images are quite old. I think we all know that. But it should give you an idea on where can I use this capability, or where can you apply it in your business. And actually, I do have some customers in the logistics or delivery industry, and for them a capability like that might be really relevant. Really important here to say is it is absolutely not limited to the Street View thing. You can basically embed and integrate any other cool idea, useful idea into the Tableau dashboard. And as said, with the Tableau extension API, that will get bigger and bigger, and it will be just getting easier to do that. Cool. So I'm going to switch again. And I think we are basically done with the exercises, just with the exercises. So it's time for us to take a breath, do some recap on what we actually learned so far about all the exercises. We hope that some of those examples helped you to really see that actions can help you to improve the performance of your dashboards. that you have a better, more visual way of do filtering. You have more control about your filtering approach. You can apply drill down filtering. It will help you to trigger external services within your Tableau dashboard. Right? And ultimately what I guess is if you play around with actions, you will see so many nice examples in our community how it will really unleash your creativity, how we like to say, in order to get the maximum use out of your dashboard. So that's basically a little wrap up. And what I want to say is you have the workbook after the session you can go through. You will have the presentation. And please, the next time when you sit in front of Tableau, take a breath, warm up your muscles, prepare the example, repeat the example, think about taking breaks because that's really important, and try to avoid really picking up the biggest weight at the beginning. Do the warm-up first, then the medium weight, and then go really for the big weight. And yeah, with that being said, I think, or we hope that you enjoyed the session. What I will do now is I will give a last try to getting our last video being played. Let's see if that works. No, it apparently does not work. So it does say, hasta, what does it say actually, Peter? Do you want to quote it? Yeah, hasta la vista, baby. And with that, feedback is really important for us, so help us to improve the session, give us feedback, and we are here for take any questions.